This is Matthew 13 and 24, parable about the tares. Alright, because the Lord told you, alright, when we get into this parable, the Lord told you at this time you was going to have Israelites, alright, who descend from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, alright, which the Israelites are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American descent, alright, on your father's side. In these days that they because of the curses, and we amongst all these other nations, you gonna have Jake coming out, some of them looking like the people of the other nations, and vice versa. All right, you gonna have some of the people that might look like Israelites, all right, on the outside, like a Negro, Latino, Native American, but really their fathers go back to the other nations, and they're known as tares. Alright, so let's get into it. This is Matthew 13:24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in the field. Alright, the field is the world, alright, and the good seed are the children of Israel. Alright, but while man slept, alright, when we went under the curses, alright, and we lost our nationality, our heritage, alright, keeping our law, statutes, and commandments, and knowing who we are, his enemy came, which the enemy, starting with Esau, so-called white man, alright, and then the other nations came and sowed tares among the wheat. Alright, the tares are people, alright, whose fathers are not Negroes, Latinos, and Native American descent, but of the other nations, but yet their mother is a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American descent. Alright, so they might look like their mother, alright, but they are of their father, and their father are heathens, but they can look like Jake. Alright, then it says among the wheat. The wheat are those whose lineage go back to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American descent on their father's side. Okay, so we'll read that again. It says, but while man slept, his enemy came, right, and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. And when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, there appeared the tares also. All right, and you see that in movies like what movie was that? Oh, Goodbye Uncle Tom. You know, they had a scene where they had these Caucasian bitches sitting and trying to reason within their mind why what their husbands be doing, and they in denial because they husband, right? They don't want to deal with deal with their wives. They want to deal with the slave woman, so they'll go out there to the cabin or wherever Jake was they had Jake situated, the Negro, Latino, Native American woman. They'll go and smash her, alright, and then they'll get that slave woman pregnant, and she'll have children, and they'll come out looking like the mother but a little bit fair or whatever, so they'll have them serving in the house. Alright, you got examples like that in that movie Roots with Chicken George. You know, when the master came and he had slept with Kizzy to produce Chicken George. Alright, but in that movie Goodbye Uncle Tom, they had that scene, and they had all these slaves, which really were Edomites, but they was helping, and they was like, oh, he looks like my brothers. He looked like my brother, and he's left-handed just like my brother, and oh, look how they're getting lighter. Then they try to say it's evolution and all this madness. Alright, but then in the next scene, alright, they had the husbands. They was talking about how they like getting down with these slave women. Alright, and you know, so that's what it's talking about. It says, while man slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. And it was the same when we was amongst these other nations as well, not just here in America with the so-called white man. The Arabs did it. The Africans did it. The East Indians did it. Chinese, Japanese, all the other nations did this. All right. But when the blaze was sprung up and brought forth fruit, there appeared the tares also. So the servants of the household came, which servants are the angels, came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in the field, in thy field? From whence then have it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy have done this. Alright. Alright. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? Alright. But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, alright, ye root up also the wheat with them. Alright. That's right. I'm gonna pull out this article. Alright. This is not an article, but this is from the book Nature Has No Color Line. Alright, to prove that, from J.R. Rogers. Alright. This is a picture of J.R. Rogers, alright, who was a scholar who went and did research, found out these things, alright. And this is from what page is this? Out, in the post-production, I'll put what page it came from, alright, from the book, alright, of Nature Has No Color Line, alright. It says, it is the, I'm reading the highlighted part, it says, it is the foreign and imported males, regardless of color, who came into any land whatsoever as rulers, sailors, soldiers, merchants, colonists, colonizers, slaves, are throughout history the pioneers in race mixing, which we prove that there's no such thing as mixed people. Alright, it's all determined by the seed of your father. Alright. It says in the colonial expansions of Europe, it was the white man who went into Africa, India, Oceania, and the New World, alright, and in the absence of white women, made it with the dark-skinned women of those nations. Now, let me get the curse about Israel, alright, back up about the enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat, alright, because if you know anything about history, man, they was not taking the women, oh, hey, how you doing? They was taking it by force, man. I'm gonna prove it with the scriptures. Alright? This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Alright, these are the curses that came on Israel. Probably best if I start at verse 15. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15, it says, And it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes as I commanded thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Alright? Let me get this real quick from Tobit. Tobit 3 and 4, it says, For they obeyed not thy commandments, talking about Israel, wherefore thou hast delivered us for a spoil, and unto captivity, and unto death, and for a proverb of reproach to all nations among whom we are dispersed. Alright, because Israel was dispersed amongst the nations. Alright, so back to Deuteronomy. Alright, so this curse came upon us because we was disobedient and we was placed under slavery. Alright, Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 30, it says, Thou shalt betroth a wife, alright, and another man shall lie with her. Okay, Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof. And that's slavery. Alright? And that's what happened when the enemy came and sowed tares amongst the wheat. Alright? Lamentations 5. Alright, verse 11. It says, they ravish, alright, which the word ravish means to rape, which the word rape means to take by force. Alright, the women and Zion, and the maids in the city of Judea. Alright, that's what they did. So back to this, it says, it says, in the colonial expansion of Europe, it was the white man who went into Africa, alright, India, Oceania, and the New World, which is the Americas, the Caribbean Isles, where Jake was, and in the absence of white women, made it, alright, or they took by force, they raped the women with the dark-skinned women of those lands. Alright, that's the enemy coming to sow tares. Alright, because you still had Jake, alright, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, a good portion of them was in Africa, alright, as well in Spain and Portugal. Alright, it said in India, alright, in Oceania, alright, and in the New World. So they sowed tares amongst Jake. Alright. It said in the last two world wars, okay. It says in the last two world wars, also American and other soldiers, white and Negro, alright. And when it said Negro, alright, because what movie is that? Oh, that movie Spike Lee made called Miracle at St. Anna. Alright. You had some Jake soldiers go fight. I think that was World War One. I believe so. It was either World War One or World War Two. It was one of those major wars where they fought in Europe. And it was the main character. He was a so-called Puerto Rican or Ephraimite, alright, because the so-called Puerto Ricans come from the tribe of Ephraim, alright, and he looked like a Negro. He was about my complexion, of like a medium complected, what they'll think is a Negro. He had a woolly hair, everything. You would have thought he was a Negro. And then it came out in the movie that he was a Puerto Rican. Alright? So when they said, white Negro, you do have some of the Latin tribes as well as the Native American tribes that have so-called Negro features. Alright? Or can pass for Negroes. So when he said American and other soldiers, white and Negro, alright? Because you had all the tribes go fight for this devil over there in these two world wars, and you're gonna have them go fight for World War III, and they're gonna get destroyed. Alright, Negroes made it with the women, alright, of France, Germany, Italy, Britain, North and West Africa, Egypt, Persia, India, Japan, China, Korea, the South Sea Islands, West Indies, and Latin America. Alright, so when Jake, and that's a cut right there. Alright, because when it says right here, drop this. When it says right here, it says in Matthew 13:29, but he said, nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, alright, ye root up also the wheat with them. Why? Because you had Jake, alright, through slavery and also going to fight in these wars. They went and basically had children with women of France, so-called Caucasian women, Germany